Welcome to the KFA Podcast, where our mission is to keep faith alive by kicking ass.
All right, so today we have on Nick Atwood, along with Dayton, of course.
Howdy.
Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so
Thanks for the invite.
yeah, so met you along with Dayton at the event down in Portland.
Yes.
And ended up hearing the marketing brand guy that specializes in the beer stuff. So we had to go grab some beers after the fact and learn more about you and your story. Yeah. I kind of wanted to replicate that conversation that we had and just get to know you and your story. And who is Nick?
Yeah. I'm a real estate agent with Windy Mare. I'm on the TAR team with Kat Tar. She's my sister. And I've been doing this since about 2021. Before that, I was a director of sales for a cider company down in Oregon City, and worked in the beer industry since, long time. Since I was 21, I'm 37 now. So, yeah.
Dang. So
yeah.
Since you were able to drink it.
Yeah.
You were selling it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I started kind of at the bottom, throwing cases to the shelf, and then worked all the way up to being one of the top sales reps, and then went and switched to more of the supplier side, So that was kind of an interesting switch. But yeah, I got into real estate when COVID hit, and that definitely was more of a turning, eye opener of everything, trying to shift gears.
Yeah, I bet.
But then I also kind of realized that the difference from what I was doing to what I'm doing now in real estate is the marketing and branding and stuff is still the same or similar. I should say similar. You're not packaging right. This new beer or anything like that. You're more packaging yourself and what you can do for your clients and all that stuff.
Selling yourself over a product.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What were some of the things that you learned within the sales and cider and beer that you were able to transfer relatively easily to real estate?
The ability to really kind of communicate with anybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you work in the beer industry, you have to have that confidence and comfortability to walk into a bar that you've never even been in, never even heard of, and find the owner or whoever's doing the purchases, and then talk with them over your products versus other products, because normally there's an X amount of tap handles,
right,
and there's hundreds of products out there.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of insert yourself into a manner that you're building their trust that your product's going to sell, and not tie up that line for too long. Mm-hmm. And if it sells fast enough, they're going to want to reorder and say, hey, actually, you know what, this may be a house product that we want to keep. So that ability definitely transfers into the real estate, where you meet someone for the first time and you're like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and this is what I do, and you're wanting to look at some houses, and let's do this, and I'm well aware of your situation, or I want to get to know your situation and kind of build a rapport, and then it just kind of goes from there.
Probably helps with the follow-up part of it too, right? Because you have that's a big bar with a lot of taps. We need to really focus on that one. Or you find a potential lead, then it's add it to your database, and so it probably helped with the follow-up too.
Oh yeah. I mean, you'd always have newsletters that go out, and I still do those, newsletters to all clients,
right?
And even follow-up, even after I get a person into a house, or I sell their house, or they move, or whatever, I'm still following up with them, afterwards.
Yeah.
Because referrals is the name of the game in real estate, So if you always want to do a good job for your client, because, hey, they might have a brother, cousin, friend, neighbor, who knows, kid.
Did you ever get referrals in the beer industry?
Occasionally, occasionally you'd go into a bar that was right next to another bar, and then you built up rapport with that owner.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you go in there next week, and the owner of the guy next door is in there, and you could just walk up to the bar and just start chit chatting with him. All of a sudden, you're like, "Hey, you want to get a beer?" And then you realize, oh, you own next door, and that's just kind of where it goes from there. Is
Have you utilized some of those connections yet within the beer industry that you had? Like some of those owners is like, hey, I'm in real estate now.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting twist, because COVID with the shutdown and stuff, a lot of bar owners that I used to know either gotten out or moved away, or but I have reached out to them, and I've talked with them and met with a couple of them, and so it's just been kind of trugging along with it. So
just thinking off the top of my head, have you done any home brewing?
No. No, I have a lot of friends that do it, and it's a lot of fun, and I've helped a couple of them.
My idea is, because I'm always thinking about like the what's your and thing. Like you're a realtor and you also love beer or you love cider.
Yeah.
What if you were to like team up with one of your friends that does homebrew stuff and then print like your real estate branding on the logo of the beer, and then you're able to sell it to or at least give it to a bar for free, and then people are buying beer that's quality beer with your face on it.
So most of my friends that do home brewing, they don't do like mass quantities enough to do
small batch
like that. Yeah. It's like they brew it for themselves, get the garage beer going.
Yeah.
So
that would be cool.
Yeah.
I lived at a house actually to where the guy that owned the house, he homebrewed. He loved homebrewing. I was like, dude, you should turn this into a business. And he was like, I don't want anything to do with the business side of it. I just like brewing beer. We had like 6 different beers on tap in the garage. You could just walk out and...
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Were they kegerators or just...
Yeah. Well, he built this giant fridge. So it housed like all these different kegs in there. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's pretty sweet.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you hiked the Pacific Coast Trail.
I did. So when COVID hit, I got laid off with an intent to like come back. So it kind of was one of those situations where I'm like, oh, I'm on summer vacation for a little bit, and it was kind of interesting because it was just like a string of unfortunate events that happened that I finally was like, you know what, I think I need to go and look at something, like go for a walk. I had
a really long walk.
Yeah, a really long walk. So and that's what I did. So I started at the California-Oregon border, and I started coming back north. So I was a Nobo on the trail, and had some good experiences. Saw some beautiful countryside, but I made it about 150 miles before it was kind of like, I think I started this a little too early when I ran into about like 4 feet of snow. And I was like, I think
Did
I started
you pack snowshoes ahead of time?
No, and like I didn't even think about it.
Flip-flops. He had flip-flops on.
Yeah, basically.
Shorts.
Like I had boots, but it's like I didn't have like crampons or anything like that, So it was kind of one of those. I got to a point, and I did it with my stepmom, and we both kind of got to a point where she cracked first and was like, I want to go home. It's cold.
Did you say what month you started?
Oh,
how long you were on the trail for in total?
I started in the beginning of June.
And it was still too early.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people were kind of coming into mid to North California at that point. So if you started at like the very bottom, the Mexican border, you would be starting in like, I want to say May, April, somewhere in that part.
Okay.
And so you're averaging probably about 12 miles a day, walking. Some do it. I mean, if you're physically prepped for it, you're doing more than that, But I was averaging probably about 8 to 12 miles a day, Then I figured, oh, well, I don't want to. I'm too late to start from the bottom, so I might as well cut the line, jump here, and go north. And it was definitely a fun experience because like you get to a point too where like all of a sudden you're just starting to rain. It starts raining, and you're like, "Hey, this is not a camp spot. Like, this is not a camp spot." You have to time out your water supplies.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of resources online. I watched a ton of YouTube videos on everything, and I learned about other trails and like what to pack, you know. And most people, like my pack, I got the weight down to like 32 pounds.
Wow.
And it was like cutting your toothbrush down, you know, like your hair, your hairbrush. Like, do you really need a hairbrush, or sawing the handle off of it because that's an extra half an ounce, you know? Like, yeah, it was crazy.
I would never even think about that.
Yeah, there was so much so much thought that went into it. Like, I originally brought like my normal hiking tent, and quickly realized that they have other tents out there that don't use poles. They use your trekking poles. And so got rid of like our first supply drop, got rid of the old tent, and then luckily enough we got this other tent that was like 2-person quick put up, you know. And that was game changer in weight, you know. So, but it's kind of interesting because you kind of get, after like 4 or 5 days out on the trail, like you have this idea that your home is on your back.
Right.
Like everything that you own.
Pretty surreal.
Yeah. Like it gets really, like you wake up and you hear, you know, the birds chirping, and you open your tent and it's like there's the sunset over a valley, and you're like, this is how I start my day. Like, this is the coolest thing in the world.
That's so cool.
You know?
You just head down to Starbucks and get your coffee, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even like that. You're sitting there with your mountain trail food, you know, and you're like, your Instapot coffee, you know.
Right.
And you're just kind of like sitting there just watching life kind of go by, birds fly by and stuff. And
probably really slows everything down, too.
It does.
I imagine.
Yeah. It kind of, for me, it like really grounded me to like, there's more out, you know, more out there than just like the day to day. Okay, I got to go get my Starbucks. All right, I wake up today, and you know, first thing I do is, you know, X, Y, and Z. You know, when you wake up and you pull yourself out of a tent and you've been in that tent for 5 days in different locations, you're like, okay, so all I'm doing today is just walking. Yeah. Like, that's it.
Right.
You know, and like there was a couple times that like we'd wake up and just, do we want to walk today? Nah, I don't really want to walk today. Let's just, you know, take it here.
Yeah.
You know, but you can't do that too often, because for me, I couldn't do it too often because I start getting stir crazy, where you're like, okay, well, like, you know, like let's
get going.
Yeah, let's kind of get going, you know. But it also kind of freaks you out too, because in the middle of the night you hear like a twig branch.
Right.
You know, like a twig break, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, wait, what was that?
Is that Sasquatch?
Yeah, you know, like, is that a bear? You're like, do I want to open the tent?
Right.
You know, so do I want to be a tent burrito right now? You know,
how much of it is outside? Well, it's all outside, obviously, but like undercover. So like walking through the forest versus being out in an open field.
So I mean, it was kind of interesting because there was a lot of it that was like you're in the middle of a forest, you know, and then. But then there's spots where there's one spot in the trail that we were at where the map says go this way, or you can go the more scenic route, but it's not advised to go the more scenic route because there's cougars.
Oh, nice.
And so like the shortcut is you're walking through like these $1 million homes that are on 10 acres that are all, it's just like a neighborhood.
Wow. That's so weird.
And they're like, the house is here, and then all of a sudden like 2 acres over, there's another house.
Wow.
And it's like the road just bends around it, and you're like, oh, okay, and you're walking on road.
Civilization.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and like, you know, we got to the bottom of Crater Lake, and I mean, some of that's like you're getting to a point where you're like, you look up and you're like, I gotta walk up this thing, and you're on a road. you're on a road, and you're like, or
so you can't go around it, you just go up it.
Yeah, like there's not like a trail or nothing. I mean, there's probably a trail, but when we got there was no trail, so it was kind of one of those like,
wow.
Or I can put my thumb out and see who's gonna help.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we ran into people that like they just see us walking on the side of the road and no thumb out, no nothing. All of a sudden the truck would stop, like pull over in front of you and stop. And you'd be like, walk up to it and they're like, where you going? We're like, just like 3 miles that way. They're like, all right, get in the back. And you're like, okay, throw your stuff in the back. And then you're just riding on the back of a random person's truck. You're like, I hope this doesn't take me out to the middle of nowhere where, you know, I have a deliverance conversation, you know.
How long was the journey in total?
We were out there probably about a month. Yeah,
Man.
about a month. And then that's kind of when, like, excuse me, you get kind of into a point where you're like, okay, I miss my kid.
Yeah.
You know, like I had my daughter at the time, and I was like, I kind of wanted to go home. I want a hot shower. I miss my kid, you know. But we were out there about a month.
Okay.
So that definitely was an experience. So, but yeah, when I came back, it was definitely a okay. Things are good. Everything's right in the universe, you know. Something.
It's like a massive reset for you.
Oh yeah, it was huge. Yeah.
Did you decide to jump into real estate while you were on that journey, or how did that all come about?
So I decided to get into real estate. No, it wasn't that journey. I was thinking about it. You know, I was thinking about it, and it wasn't on the forefront of my mind because I wanted to kind of still stay into doing what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And I'd go on like interviews with different breweries, and a lot of the time I got feedback of, hey, we would love to hire you, but you're going to be making a lot less than what. And a lot of times the math just wasn't working out for it. Or they'd tell me, I'd be like, oh, I'm overqualified. You know, like we can't, you know, don't want to hire you because.
Well, that's got to be just a terrible, hard time
in
the midst of COVID.
Yeah. Well, at the time, I was on unemployment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was getting, I'd never been on unemployment. So I was getting, you know, that and plus the extra stimulus from the government and all that stuff. And so that was kind of like the draw with a lot of these suppliers. Like, even though I was like, hey, no, I want to go, you know, they're like, you're making more money now.
Doing unemployment.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so I got to a point with it that I just was like, you know what, get my real estate license. You know, everything's still going. I'm on unemployment. I can just do this and then.
Right. So did you kind of see some of the inner workings of what Kat was doing at the time, and you saw that part of it, and that kind of led you towards that route?
Yes, that, and my dad's been in real estate for 20 plus years,
Okay.
Right.
and so like it wasn't uncommon to me. I had already the lingo from him. You know, I'd sit down with my dad, or you know, have a beer or two with him, and he'd kind of tell me about stuff. So it wasn't like I was unfamiliar with it. I mean, I even used my own dad as my real estate agent when I bought my house. So like, and it was kind of funny then too, because he would be like, hey, here's the RMLS. I'll show you. You do your search. What do you want to look for? You know? So that was like, so I kind of knew, you know, and it wasn't, it was unfamiliar, but not unfamiliar with the whole situation. So when I got into it, my biggest worry was like, oh man, am I going to know enough people to do this? And luckily enough, Kat, she was creating her team that we're on now, and kind of helped me out and took me under her wing. You know, it was like, hey, you know, we'll make this happen. You know, and so far it's just been success after success.
How was that first deal that you did?
Oh, such nerve-wracking. Like, it was nerve-wracking. It was a listing in Oregon. And because I had gotten licensed in Oregon first, and then Washington, because Washington's a reciprocal state. So
Smart way.
Yeah, right.
Save yourself some time.
Yeah. And I did that because my dad was also licensed in both states, you know. And so there was kind of like an idea of, you know, when he kind of gets a little older and starts looking towards retirement, that way I could pick up like his whole book, Oregon and Washington, the whole thing on that. And so I I did that route. Yeah, my first deal, was a listing in Oregon, and it definitely was a okay, what do I do next? Okay,
Yeah,
now
right.
what do I do next?
Sure.
Okay,
Yep.
now what do I do next? And Kat was like, "You do you." You figure this out. There wasn't like there was a little bit of hand holding, but it was more like riding a bike where they were holding the seat behind me, and I'm like, am I doing this right? And they're like 5 feet behind me going, yep, I'm still right behind you, you know. But I got through it. Everything turned out great. So yeah, it was definitely.
How long did it take you from getting licensed to that deal, to the first deal?
Luckily enough, it wasn't too long, because Kat helped me out quite a bit on that one. So there was like that family, the family love was there to kind of be like, hey, look, you know, like you haven't been working in a while, and you probably need a paycheck right now.
Sure.
So like, here you go.
Cut your teeth on this one.
Yeah, cut your teeth on this one. Let's see what you're made of, you know, type thing. And so,
and because similar to what you were describing, like when I first got into it, it's like you don't know the entire process, every little detail from start to finish. So it's like, okay, I have it here. Now what's the next step? It's like, if I could just find something that could explain the entire blueprint of start to finish, this is what it looks like.
yeah,
Cut and dry, that'd be so much easier. But it's, you learn from doing.
yeah,
And
exactly.
then you also don't know what you don't know. And then, so all those little things that come up that, you know, are little road bumps in each transaction, then it's like, you're never going to forget that again, because you had to have this uncomfortable conversation with a client about something. It's like, that's now burned into your mind.
Yeah.
And you're going to be thinking about that on every transaction.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a very true statement. Like, I have done, just me personally, just around 40 deals, over 40 deals now, and I have learned every transaction. There's always something new to learn.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of comfortability with, okay, I've already, this is what we do, guys. I've already done this. We've already done this.
Yeah.
You know, but there's always something new. I just had a deal where the water line in the kitchen burst.
Yeah.
And so that's a first. And then you're like, okay, what do we do?
Right.
You know, and you're looking at the other agent like, okay, what do we do? You know?
Probably fix that pipe.
Yeah. So, you know.
Who are you
like,
going to call?
Yeah, I mean, I've had tons of stories now where I'm like, I don't think this is like a normal situation, you know, like it's definitely not a 9-to-5, you know.
No.
Like you walk into a series of oddly weird events, and every property, every deal is very unique. You know?
For sure, dude. Last year I had opened the door to this little townhome, and it's stairwell right in the entryway, and I hear something upstairs, and so I'm like, oh, like it's supposed to be, you know, it's owner occupied, but they're supposed to be out. So I was like, hey, you know, making sure they know we're coming in. It sounded like someone was there, and then just around the corner come screaming down, and it was dark up the stairway. A little miniature pig just rushed us. My clients freaked out. I freaked out. I was
This was not in the property description.
no, I mean, it's like, I've never even seen an indoor pig before, but like in the snorting because at first I was like, oh, maybe it's like a pug, and then snorting and squealing, sprinting down the stairs,
400-pound pug
out of the
heading your way.
darkness. Like, I just remember being like, man,
That's
like,
funny.
I was 7 years in at that point. Like, yeah.
That was bacon
Never
flying
gets
down
old.
the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bacon seed coming at you. Yeah, I had a property I was showing clients, and this was over in Portland, close to Division, years ago, and it got there early, went to turn the lights on, and how the house was configured is you came in and there was like a kitchen, and then the hallway went to the right, and then the living room and stuff went to the left. So went in, turned the lights on, went around, turned the living room lights on, dining room lights on, kitchen lights on, came back around, and then when I went to go down the hallway, well, first when I went into the living room, I saw that the bathroom light was on, and didn't think anything of it. Probably thought the showing before me, left the light on, no big deal. So when I came back around to go down the hallway, I flipped the hallway light on, and there was a naked man standing in the hallway, like mid-stride, like
Bigfoot.
Like Bigfoot. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and we both kind of did the whole, And luckily enough, I guess he was a homeless person or something that found a window.
Oh, no way. So it was a vacant home?
Yeah, it was a vacant home.
Oh, wow.
And so...
at least you don't have to feel bad about it. It wasn't the owners.
Right, yeah. And so, luckily enough, he was cool, because I was like, hey, man, you got to get your stuff. You got to get out. Like, this house is showing and everything. And he was cool. Grabbed his stuff, got dressed, grabbed his stuff. And about that time, I had clients that started showing up. And, like, he was like... He heard them, so he kind of like came out and was like...
He walks by, he's like, great house.
Yeah,
nice
that's
neighborhood.
it. Like, he was like, yeah, great house, thanks for letting me see it, and like my clients went in through the door, and I was kind of by the front door. I was like, okay, like, you gotta go. He's like, yeah. He looked at me and goes, hey, can you do me a favor and not notify the enforcement here? And I was like, no problem. All right, yeah, I got you. Called the listing agent. I was like, hey, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
man.
Yeah, that's always on one of my top.
You don't see that every day.
No. Yeah, that was one of those, like, afterwards I'm like, I'm not sure about this. If this is unique
this isn't
stories.
what I saw on HGTV.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
And it's crazy. I feel like every single realtor has them.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
it's one of my favorite. We just start a segment on this podcast. Like, what's your craziest story?
Right.
Like,
There's
so many of them.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it's every transaction has its good stories.
Yeah. So you're licensed in Washington and Oregon. Do you want to talk about kind of what the Cat Tar team or the Tar team is doing right now with the rebranding and all that?
Yeah. I mean, we're coming out with some new logos. We're really gearing up towards community first sports segments and stuff. I know Kat, she's really big in the soccer world. I know I'm digging deeper into bowling. I'm a big bowler.
Okay.
So, in fact, I just did the Portland Masters Sunday. Didn't do too well, but wasn't bottom of the pack. Right? Like, I was kind of mid-low. But definitely...
What's your average?
My average is about 200.
Nice.
195.
That's really good.
Connor's in a league, or he used to be, right?
I was in a league for like 5 years. My average was like 165 to 170, but I would get like once a year, like 230 or 240. My highest is 255.
Oh, nice.
What have you gotten a 300?
No. My highest is like 267.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Averaging 200 is insane. But.
Yeah. I've really kind of put a little focus on it. I was actually in the middle of trying to get it up because there was a couple tournaments in Vegas I wanted to try out.
Yeah.
So,
man,
I'll get there one day.
Crazy.
So they have the soccer branding. You said that you were kind of talking about bowling, getting into that.
Yeah. So yeah, with that, I was planning on trying to look into doing some events for like some charity events.
Awesome.
And with that, I know Laura is also into the soccer world as well. So I also play fantasy football, so that's always a fun thing. So I watch a lot of football. I used to play flag football. In fact, I coached my daughter's flag football this last summer, which was...
Where'd you play flag?
Here in Vancouver. It was like this rec.
Which league? I play.
I think it's the Vancouver Adult League now.
The one Jason Smith runs?
I think, Jason Smith, yeah.
That's crazy.
You guys probably played each other?
No, probably. I'm on Jason's team. Jason's my dad's childhood buddy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I played a few years ago.
I played in his league a few years ago. He shut his down and it switched over to Clark County.
Yep. That's right.
So now I'm on his team, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've played against each other.
Probably.
That's wild.
Yeah, when COVID hit, that's kind of when I was like, all right, I got it.
Right about that time for me too.
So, that was always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we were talking about having to put together a fantasy football league for some realtors and some of us in here.
Yeah, we got to do it.
Yeah, that'd be
You can have a KFA league.
Yeah, the KFA league, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I recommend piggybacking with a vampire league. That's always fun.
The vampire league is interesting. Have you done a vampire league?
I've never done it.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I heard the concept.
Yeah.
That's where you're able to steal a a player, right?
One person starts. They don't draft, right?
They just
Yeah,
start
they're
with
the
bench player,
last person in the
waiver.
draft is the vampire, and so
Okay.
they're the ones that can't draft like normal players, and then everybody else gets a draft, but then they can't use the waiver wire. The vampire is the only one that gets to use like the free agent.
Oh, really?
Wire. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that part.
Or do they get first access to it, or they can't even use the?
Yeah. So if you're
really?
if you're in if you're in a 10-man league, whoever's in 10th has to draft non-usable players, and then so everybody else drafts, and then that's the team you get till the playoffs.
Oh,
So
man.
if you
Wow,
get
yeah.
if you get someone that gets injured, tough luck.
So you didn't do it the way that where you like steal a player?
Yeah.
From the,
So
oh,
if you
did do
lose
that?
to the vampire, the vampire gets full right of any active roster player.
I feel like the vampire's in the best position, especially if you can pick up any of
Because
the
you
breakout
get,
stars.
You get Puka Nakua,
Oh,
like
yeah.
week 1 or something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then he rides your team to at least beat a team, and then you get a Derrick Henry or
Oh
something.
yeah. Yeah. My fiance, she was the vampire this year, and she just dominated as a vampire because it was like people didn't think about picking up
This was a year with a lot of just unknowns that became
Oh, yeah.
studs.
rookies that came out that you were like, wait,
Right.
like what's going on here?
Right.
Like A-Train and who was the backup for Mustard on Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, he was great.
nobody saw that game
No,
with Denver coming.
I had him on my team. It
Oh,
was,
nice.
it was great. So is there going to be like a couch GM bowling coming up here?
Oh yeah,
What
we
are we
might have
gonna
to
do
do
with
something like
that?
that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you been to a professional bowling event, or because there's the Pro Bowling Association or something like that?
The PBA. Yeah.
Have you been to a legit PBA event or tournament,
No, not yet.
or even just to like be in the stands to watch it?
No, I
'Cause
haven't
that'd be
done
cool.
yet. Yeah, that's on my checklist to get done and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely going to be fun. But yeah, I was planning on trying doing something for like a bowling for cancer type of event.
Yeah.
So
That'd be awesome.
I'm still in the works with that. I have another friend of mine. We're on a Saturday night league, and so he was a cancer survivor when he was a kid. I think he was like leukemia, and me and him started talking because I ended up getting diagnosed with melanoma stage 2 quite a few years ago, and luckily enough I'm all cleared and all that stuff. Did everything I needed to do, but when I was talking to him and stuff, I was like, hey man, like that's kind of something to like get the awareness out. Doesn't matter what type of cancer it is or anything like that. I mean, it's no fun. It's not something anybody should ever go through. So he's on board. So we're just trying to figure out like what we need to do to kind of get an event going.
Yeah. Well, let us know. We'll try to get a big draw of the real estate community to the event, and we've got a little bit of event planning experience. So
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
happy to help. Oh man. So what are your goals this year for just real estate specifically?
Kind of more expand the business. I mean, like being on the TAR team, it's been a very amazing situation. I've been very blessed. Especially being with the family and stuff. But just keep pushing. We've had overwhelming success over the last few years since we've kind of came together as a team, and I mean, just keep going for those 5 stars. Keep making clients happy. Like we do so much for everybody that we can come in contact with. Like we do home warranties and everything.
Staging and
the whole 9 yards, cleanings.
Call that unreasonable hospitality.
Exactly. And it's not just like, hey, contact my buyers and say, hey, I pay for a home warranty for you to make sure that you get peace of mind afterwards.
Right.
But we also do it for sellers too. So just in case, hey, we go on market and a water line breaks.
Yeah.
You're covered. We got you.
100%.
So there's that benefits too. Plus, I mean, it's not just me. It's a ton of experience. It's me, Kat, our parents were both realtors, so that's just like we have that ocean of knowledge and experience. If not one phone call, hey, Pops, did you ever experience this?
Yeah.
What do you think you know? So it helps.
Man. And it's such a unique team too, to be so family based and oriented. And I feel like I'd have to imagine like any one of your clients feels like they're getting an entire, you know, army of people behind them to help them get through this, which,
oh yeah,
that's hard to compete with.
Oh yeah. You know, I mean, like I've gone on listing appointments and brought Leslie, Kat's mom, with us, you know, and so it's not, you know, you're not just getting one realtor. It's the showing of force, like,
right.
Hey, you know, like you're getting not just me, you're getting more than one agent for the price of one agent.
Right.
You know, and so it's really helpful, you know.
That's a great point. And so obviously you don't have experience, you know, prior to COVID and prior to this real estate season, you know, currently where rates have been higher and stuff, but your guys' team has definitely outperformed the average by a long shot. I'd say in the top 0.1 percentile of people and how they've worked through this season. Do you think, like, how much of that do you think is because you guys had each other to lean on to go through this?
I think it that helped a lot, you know, like having that, because there's, you know, our parents went through the 2008 crash, you know, they went through the time when just before that when it was hot, you know, and then 2008 hit. So like we saw firsthand the ups and downs of it, and kind of were like, okay, what do we need to do to kind of edge ourselves on being the higher priority, you know, the go-to, you know, because that's what you want is the professional agent,
right?
You know, like I wake up, I'm a professional real estate agent, and I know that, you know, like Kat wakes up, does the same thing, you know, sit down with meetings and do that. It's not just oh, you know, I'm an agent and I take my kids to soccer practice or baseball practice, or, you know.
Yeah. The hobby agent or the,
exactly,
you know, just second supplemental stream of income realtor.
Yep, exactly. It's definitely this is what I do for a living. You know, this is what we do as a team for a living, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So that helps quite a bit when you're dealing with people that are, you know, first-time home buyers, you know, and you're like, hey, don't worry, I got you.
Yeah.
Specialize, you know, like, done this. We will get you through it.
Yeah.
Every step, ask as many questions as you want. We can answer them.
Right.
You know.
Totally.
So.
Yeah, that's amazing. We talk about just with KFA, and one of our kind of core targets for where we want to go with this is just like creating more community in real estate, because like most people don't have a family that can be their core, you know, inside of real estate, like a real family, but creating more of that, because I think during this season and obviously there'll be another season to come that's tough, you know, we'll get out of this one and then there'll be another one however long from now, and when that time comes and when we're going through that, it just I realize how important it is to not be even if you're a solo agent, not be a solo agent, because you can beat yourself up. You know, there's so many people that I've talked to that are mad because their volume's down 50% this year, and it's like, well, the actual market in terms of transactions occurring is down more like 60-70%. So you're gaining market share. Congratulations. Yeah. You're doing better than average. Like, that's great. But people, you know, it's hard to see it that way, and so I do think there's a huge importance in just like, even if, and you guys didn't like struggle this year, of course, but if you were to, struggling together is easier than alone.
I see on Facebook you guys are like, oh, we've already closed like 20 homes this year. It's like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, it's been crazy this year. Like I was not. I mean, we kind of knew the bubble was gonna burst for us. Like we've been really, you know, trugging along, you know, and doing great, doing what we can do, but this year hit, and it seemed like in the middle of the winter, it just seemed like all of a sudden it popped, and you're like, it was like the roller coaster moment when you kind of go up, and you're like, okay, this is fun, this is awesome, all right, and then all of a sudden it goes down, and you're like, wait, I didn't see that loop-de-loop, you know, and you're like, okay, hold on, let's go, and so, but it's been very fortunate and very awesome to kind of get that head start on the year to really go, and I look forward to kind of seeing what the summer's going to bring, because it's just going to keep getting more
rates
and
will
more.
come down a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be sunny out.
Yep. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Like, I have a listing coming live this week, and I'm excited for it because it's in Beaverton, and I went there when I did my kind of pre-check on everything, and I was taking pictures, and it's like a cloudy day, I'm doing it on my phone, and I'm like, man, please be next week sunny. Just Wednesday, please be sunny. So
we had snow yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that for a little bit.
Oh yeah,
where that come from?
That's an odd one.
Yeah, we'll be into the good parts of the year coming up soon.
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
I think right about April 15th is when everything's gonna
April
get
15th. It's everything's gonna pop off. It's gonna go crazy.
Not tax day, the KFA summit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You better be there. Oh man. Well, any last words of wisdom to share with the interwebs?
Yeah, just make sure that you always vet every agent you deal with, and make sure you try using or picking the best you got. So
yeah, there's a lot of them out there, and they're not created equal.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll have to have you on again at some point in the coming months, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.